What would have happened if on this very play, Aaron Murray would have found a receiver in the end zone to give Georgia a 35-32 lead over Alabama and all but certainly win the SEC championship in 2012? Well, I'm here to say, welcome to a new sort of mini-series by me, JT Productions, of what ifs that I just think of randomly. Today's will be, what if Georgia won the 2012 SEC championship? And as another little side what if during this, what if Aaron Murray declared for the 2013 NFL draft? So let's get into it. Well, Alabama and Georgia in the SEC championship 2012. At one point in the game, it was Georgia lead 28-25 until A.J. McCarron found Amari Cooper down the sideline for what I believe it was 75-yard touchdown. It was a long touchdown either way. Aaron Murray led the Bulldogs down the field within the 10-yard line to set up what could have been a game-winning touchdown. What ended up happening was Aaron Murray went to throw a fade route, and the ball got tipped at the line, caught by Chris Conley, did not drop the ball. He fell to the ground, and the clock ran out, giving Alabama the SEC championship. Well, how to fix that? Well, either Aaron Murray could have spiked the ball like he was motioning to do when he was coming up to the huddle and throw a touchdown on the next play, or on the batted pass, Chris Conley could have dropped the ball, giving the Dogs some more time on the clock for Aaron Murray to throw a touchdown. These are two different things that could have happened. Also, Aaron Murray could have pulled a Dan Marino, faked the spike, thrown a touchdown to take the lead. So, let's just say that Georgia wins the SEC championship, goes to 11-1 or 12-1, and goes to the national championship to play Notre Dame. Well, the way I think that game against Notre Dame would have gone, in real life, Alabama cauterized Notre Dame in Miami, beating them, I believe, 49-14. I believe it'd be similar, but I do believe that Georgia's defense would let up more than Alabama's did. I think it would be a Georgia victory around the likes of something like 38-21, 38-28, something like that. I think both freshman running backs, Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall, would have field days. And I think Aaron Murray would also do well, of course. And the defense with Alec Ogletree, Jarvis Jones, Damian Swan, Bakari Rambo, and others would help to slow down Notre Dame, because the defense in 2012, as the year went along, got a lot better. And by the end of this, at a 13-1 national championship, or national champions for the first time since 1980, Aaron Murray goes out as a Georgia legend and declares for the 2013 NFL Draft. Well, you might be asking, well, how does that affect Georgia? Why does this matter? Why does Aaron Murray declaring a year early matter? You would be very surprised. The backup for 2013 behind Aaron Murray was, I believe, Hudson Mason, if you would remember him. He ended up being the starting quarterback in 2014 after Aaron Murray had left. He was not as good as Aaron Murray, which we still won, I believe, 9 or 10 games that year, but the offensive passing game was pretty anemic. So, let's go ahead and get into this. So, we all know how 2013 went with Aaron Murray. I believe we went 8-4 with losses to Clemson, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Auburn. So, how's it going to change with a change of quarterback? Shouldn't change that much, should it? Well, you'd be surprised. Week 1 against Clemson. Well, originally, even with Aaron Murray, we lost the Clemson game 38-35. And we have a considerably weaker quarterback in Hudson Mason in his first ever career start, as I believe a redshirt junior maybe. So I still think we lose that game to Clemson going into week 2 against South Carolina. We get South Carolina at home. It seemed that South Carolina had Georgia's number the past 3 years, 2010, 2011. I think they beat Georgia in 2011. I'd have to look that up. And they blew them out in 2012. Without Aaron Murray in this game, I think Georgia has a hard time keeping up with South Carolina in scoring, because in the end, Georgia ended up winning that game off a long pass to Justin Scott Wesley from Aaron Murray, giving Georgia a 42-30 lead. I think Carolina beats Georgia in probably a 31-28 type game where Carolina gets a close-fought win over Georgia, giving Georgia its second loss in the year. Then it gets North Texas in Athens. This is going to be a good game for Hudson Mason to kind of get back on his feet, give him a good confidence builder, and give him a win. So, going into the next week against LSU, a very difficult game for Hudson Mason. Georgia's 1-2. And without Aaron Murray to give Georgia the firepower on offense, I don't think Georgia wins this game. I think that Zach Mettenberger and the LSU Tigers come to town and destroy Georgia, beating them somewhere in the vicinity of like 38-20, 38-21, something like that, giving Georgia its third loss in the year. Then they have to go on the road to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. If you'll remember this game, Aaron Murray's heroics gave Georgia the tying touchdown at the last second with a throw to Rentavious Wooten, and it ended up sending it to overtime where Georgia ended up winning 34-31. Now, the past 2 weeks against LSU and Tennessee, you have a lot of injuries, including Todd Gurley getting injured against LSU, and this week against Tennessee, Keith Marshall getting injured, with others as well, like Justin Scott Wesley, Josh Harvey Clemens, and players like that. I don't think Hudson Mason is going to be able to lead Georgia to a win over Tennessee with the way it panned out in real life. So, at this point, I think Georgia drops to 1-4 before coming back home to play Missouri, who absolutely destroyed Georgia in Athens in real life because of a lot of injuries. And with the only thing changing in this what-if being the quarterback, that's not going to change. So Georgia falls to 1-5 before going on the road to Nashville to take on James Franklin's Commodores. What's crazy is Georgia lost to Vanderbilt in real life. So I don't think Hudson Mason being here is going to change that. I even think that it could make Vanderbilt be able to beat us worse. So I have Georgia going into their bye week at 1-6 in 2013 with Hudson Mason at starting quarterback. This is probably very jarring for a lot of Georgia fans, but Aaron Murray was a very vital part to this 2013 team. Without him, like you see here, we would have lost a lot of our games. So, let's just keep on chugging, I guess. Week 9, we go to Jacksonville to take on Florida. And honestly, I could see this going either way because of Florida also being in a kind of crappy situation with, this year they lost to Georgia Southern. And in real life, Georgia, I believe, got up big on Florida before Florida tried to make a comeback. And one thing that I'll give Georgia is they do get Todd Gurley back, and Hudson Mason has been most likely getting better as the season goes on. So I gave Georgia the win here, but I would not be surprised if they did lose to Florida with Hudson Mason at quarterback. So you're 2-6 before playing App State. I think you'll beat App State easily because of it's just lower classification. So you're still fighting for a bowl game before going on the road to Auburn. You're 3-6. But you're running right into a buzzsaw. They run that shotgun triple option with Gus Malzahn. I just don't think that Hudson Mason is going to have the firepower with the injuries and everything to keep up with that offense keep up with the offense or the defense to stop that offense. So you dropped to 3-7 to where Georgia will miss a bowl game for the first time since the late 90s under it was either Ray Goff or Jim Donnan. So you'll beat Kentucky the next week, and then of course, another thing is that Kentucky game, Aaron Murray got injured, which pushed Hudson Mason to become the starter. But you could say that Hudson Mason gets put in the Aaron Murray role and gets injured, but just to go along with the what if, I'm going to say Hudson Mason does not get injured, stays the starter, and they go into the Georgia Tech game with 4 wins. And I think they beat Georgia Tech like they did in real life. Hudson Mason was the quarterback in this game. I think they beat him in like 2 or 3 overtimes. So there's the second part of the what if of Georgia finishing the season 5-7. Now, this ain't over because we still got to see the long-term effects of this. With Georgia finishing 5-7, the only thing keeping Mark Richt employed at the University of Georgia was the national championship they had won the year prior in 2012. Now, in 2014, I could see that he goes 9-3 like originally, or goes 10-2 with a win against South Carolina early because of Hudson Mason's full season as a starter, giving him experience. So I could see that being there. If they beat South Carolina, I could see that they won the East in 2014 because they did beat Missouri, who originally won the East. Now, 2015, 9-3, like originally. They have Grayson Lambert. They have the other quarterbacks in the stable. I don't think that'll change, but can the national championship save Mark Richt's job this far? If it does save his job, then the University of South Carolina, who had just fired their original head coach in Steve Spurrier, would be looking for a head coach. And they would end up hiring Alabama defensive coordinator Kirby Smart. That's right. The head coach who was originally going to be the University of Georgia's head coach after Mark Richt's firing goes to the University of South Carolina. That was his original stop before the Georgia job came open. Now, how is that going to change the future of these two programs? Well, 2016, the first year of both schools, I have Georgia under Mark Richt. I'm just going to fly through these. I'm not going to do really... I'm just going to have a brief explanation. You get what I'm saying. Week 1, Georgia plays North Carolina. They got the win originally, but the real question is, will Mark Richt stick with Grayson Lambert, or will he start the freshman 5-star Jacob Eason? I do think that they get the win in this game. I would not be surprised if Mark Richt lost this game. It was a close one originally, but I do think that the talent overweighs North Carolina. So you're 1-0. You play Nicholls State. Now I think you get the win there. That should be an easy one. Then you go on the road to Missouri. Missouri this year, if you look back at the 2015 game, it was a game to where I believe the total points scored was around 15-20. And with the new improved Missouri offense, I think it sneaks up on Mark Richt and Georgia. And Missouri under Barry Odom gets another win over Georgia and Mark Richt in a close one. Then they go on the road to Ole Miss, get another loss. They lost that one originally in a blowout. So I believe you go into the Tennessee game with 2 losses at 2-2. The one difference in this game than the game when Kirby Smart was coaching is better clock management by a more experienced head coach than Mark Richt. So I think that you beat Tennessee in Athens before going on the road to South Carolina to take on Kirby Smart in the South Carolina Gamecocks. And I think with the experience on the coaching side of Mark Richt, beats South Carolina in a close one like it was originally to give Georgia another win to go to 4-2. Then they play Vanderbilt at home. This is a similar story to the Tennessee game. Better clock management and better coach special teams by Mark Richt in Georgia gives the Bulldogs another win to go to 5-2 before their bye week. At this point in the season, Georgia has a better record than they did originally with Kirby Smart in Kirby Smart's first year. But they go into the Florida game, and with Florida's defense, I think that they beat Georgia for the third year in a row at this point and go give Georgia their third loss before they go into the Kentucky game in Lexington, which I believe this would be a trap game just because of Kentucky's run game and defense under Mark Stoops. And I think Kentucky gets the win over Georgia before they come back home to play Auburn. I think they continue the losing streak, lose to Auburn at home, where originally Kirby Smart's defense, coach defense, was able to absolutely shut down the offense of Auburn. I don't think that the defense is going to be as good as it was under Kirby Smart with Mark Richt, so I think that Auburn comes away in a tight one, gives Georgia their fifth loss before Georgia plays Louisiana Lafayette at home, and Georgia will win that one. Then they play Georgia Tech, and I think that with better coaching, Georgia beats Georgia Tech at home to finish the season 7-5, just like they did in real life. So that's how I think Georgia does under Mark Richt. Now here's another twist with this phase of the video. I'm going to keep up with how I think Kirby Smart would have done as the head coach of South Carolina. Well, the one thing South Carolina had in 2016 was kind of a quarterback controversy with, what was his name? Orr, I think was the quarterback's name. And they had a couple others. Week 1, they played at Vanderbilt. They beat them originally, but Vanderbilt, very good team. And with a defensive head coach in Kirby Smart, I could see it go either way. But I gave Vanderbilt the win Vanderbilt the win in this one. And South Carolina starts at 0-1. Go on the road to Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State gets the win in that one. I think South Carolina beats East Carolina. And then they go on the road to Kentucky. I think they beat Kentucky, lose to Texas A&M, lose to Georgia, and going into their bye week, they're 2-4. They beat UMass, beat Tennessee, beat Missouri, lose to Florida, beat Western Carolina, and then lose to Clemson to finish the season 6-6 like they did originally, but with different wins and losses. Now, with this, the 2016 season, this could be when people are saying that Mark Richt is on the hot seat. Just because you have you have a season to where they should have been better than they were, but a late season collapse caused them to get 5 losses. I can see them either to have him on the hot seat or have him fired at this point. But for the sake of this what if, I'm going to give it one more year, and we'll see how it goes. So 2017, Georgia schedule, Week 1, App State, that should be a win. But the one thing, I'm keeping injuries, and Jacob Eason injured here. Jake Fromm comes in. I think he still stays as committed to the University of Georgia. Actually, no. I think he commits to the University of South Carolina because of Kirby Smart. So that means that Bryce Ramsey is the quarterback going into the Notre Dame game. And that means that I believe you lose that game to drop to 1-1 before playing Samford, Mississippi State in 2 back-to-back home games. And I think with the running game that Georgia's able to win both those games. Mississippi State game a little bit closer in my opinion, but I think you're able to win those. Then you play at Tennessee. This is the first game. Jacob Eason's back. I think you win that one. Go on the road to Vanderbilt. Think you should win that as well. Excuse me. Then you have Missouri coming to town, and I think you'll win that one. But in a close one, originally Georgia won like 50-something to 20-something. It's going to be a close game, but I do think Georgia pulls it out to go 6-1 before their bye week. And going to face Florida. And I think they beat them for the first time since 2013. And then they host South Carolina at 7-1. And Kirby Smart in South Carolina, I think, beats Georgia. With how Kirby Smart recruits and the turnaround that he had with the University of Georgia from 2016 to 2017, I think that's a similar situation with South Carolina, how he's going to, how he will deal with the Gamecocks in 2017 of this what if. So you're 7-1 or 7-2 going to Auburn, and I think Auburn blows you out like they did originally in Jordan-Hare, and you drop to 7-3 before going back home to face Kentucky. Think you'll win that game before going on the road to Georgia Tech. And in a closer game than it was originally, I think you get the win and finish the season at around Mark Richt's average of 9-3. Now, how does Kirby Smart do in his second season at South Carolina? Week 1, they play NC State in the neutral site game. I think that's going to be a big marquee win for Kirby Smart and the Gamecocks. Then you go on the road to Missouri, should win that one. You come back home to play Kentucky. Your defense should shine in that game with players such as, I'm trying to think of the players on defense on that team. You have Javon Kinlaw, you have J.C. Horn maybe, a younger J.C. Horn. Anyways, then you play Louisiana Tech at home, should win that one. Then you have a big game on the road at Texas A&M. And I believe that Kirby Smart gets South Carolina their first win against Texas A&M since A&M joined the SEC. At this point, South Carolina should be ranked in the top 15 to top 10. Then they host Arkansas, should be a win. Go on the road to Tennessee, should be a big win. Going to their bye week, they're 7-0 before hosting Vanderbilt, and they should get a win there. Then they go on the road to Georgia and get a big win against the Bulldogs to put them up near the top 5 probably. Then they host Florida, get a big win there. Host Wofford. And then they have their big game against Clemson at home. And in a close game, I think South Carolina drops it. It's just a very good defense that you're going up against. And you don't have the running backs you had at Georgia with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. You have Deebo Samuel, and you have Brian Edwards at wide receiver, and you have Hayden Hurst at tight end. The passing offense for South Carolina with Jake Bentley should be better than it was originally. But I do think you drop this one to Clemson before going into the SEC championship game against Auburn. Now, this is a tricky one. Even with a injured Kerryon Johnson with Auburn, Kirby Smart still had to lose to Auburn originally to get the win against Auburn then. And I don't think he's going to have seen any kind of offense like he did originally when he goes to Georgia when he faced Auburn. So I think Auburn makes South Carolina slip up in the SEC championship and beats the Gamecocks in that game and gives South Carolina its second loss in the year to make them finish 11-2, barely missing out on the playoffs, but a great year for South Carolina and making Georgia fans wish they had fired Mark Richt originally, like they did in real life. And this shows you how different one play can change the future of any college football, really, era right here. If Aaron Murray had completed a touchdown pass in the end zone, we would not have a potential future UGA dynasty. Instead, we would have potentially a South Carolina-led SEC East for the rest of the 2010s decade and even into the 2020s. So, anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this doubleheader what if, and let me know the what ifs that you conjure up in the comments, not comic section. So, have a great day, you all, and go Dogs.